Another visual element you can add to your Word documents is a shape. And adding a shape is very similar to some of the things we've seen earlier, which are adding pictures and adding clip art and things like that. And you'll go to the exact same place to start out this process. Now remember, when you're dealing with text like this, we'll use the example of the second sonnet. We've got all this space on the right, and sometimes, a lot of times, this is where you want to put a shape. So you don't necessarily have to put it right at the end of text or between paragraphs. You have other options as well. Remember the click to type. If you listen to that lesson, you know how to do click to type, which is just give the document a double click somewhere, and boom, there's your insertion point. Now go to the Insert tab of the ribbon, and this time in your Illustrations grouping, click on Shapes, and you'll get a little drop-down menu here, and it will show you some recently used shapes. You can insert a text box from here, but we'll deal with that in a separate module. You can also insert lines, block arrows, flowcharts, callouts, and so let's insert a callout here. Let's just click on this one right here, a rectangular, little screen tips tell you, rounded rectangular callout. So let's do that one. So give it a click, and your mouse pointer changes into a crosshair. And all you have to do now is click and drag. And as you click and drag, you will size and shape that particular callout. So let's just say, let's do like this, and there we go. So now immediately the ribbon changes once again. It's context sensitive, as we've seen. Text box tools comes up, and this particular callout is a text box. Now, what if we want to scooch it around? Well, there's a couple options that we have. One is that we can just resize the thing by clicking on these handles here. We could also click it here in the little yellow button here. We can click and change the shape of it. So we can point this exactly, let's say, costume, and we want to point the call out right to that particular word. That is how you can shape a lot of the call outs, a lot of the shapes that you get to insert into your documents. You can also go to this green button on your shapes, and you can rotate the shape. So if I give it a click and then just move the mouse to one side or the other, you notice that the shape is going to rotate. So I can change it to make the call out like that. Finally, if I just hover over the edges of the shape, again, my mouse pointer changes. So when you're dealing with a shape, it's important to notice what the mouse pointer looks like. And in this case here, if I just click on the edges, it turns into a little four-headed arrow, and that lets me drag and move the shape around the document wherever I want to. And then finally, to add text, all I have to do is click and start typing. Oop, I missed the T. T-Y-P-I-N-G, typing text, as you can see. So there we go. If you want to get rid of it, of course, select and hit the delete key. Now, you saw how to do that with one shape. Let's insert a different shape, one that isn't immediately. Let's just choose a 16-pointed star here, stars and banners. And let's just draw very quickly a star. Now, this, as you might notice, doesn't have that insertion point and blinking as we did before when we chose the call out, but I can still make this into a text box. So I click and drag it around, position it. I use the yellow button to change the shape of it as I please. I use the green to change the rotation. But now I want to add text. Well, I can do this to add text. In the Insert Shapes, there's a little button right here. It says Edit Text, add text to the shape. That gives me an insertion point, and once again, I can type text into the shape.